Hello, everyone, and welcome to How to Write a Best-Selling Book. I'm Preston Weeks, and joining with me today is Mark Victor Hansen, so I'll bring him on in just a second here. But what I wanted to share before we get started is everyone who's watching, if you've got comments, or anything that you want to submit in the chat. Hello, Schwab, my friend from St. Lucia. What's up, buddy? But yeah, whoever has any comments or questions actually about writing books. So if you have questions about how to write a book, if you have questions about anything with authorship, if you have questions with anything from publishing to marketing to all those ideas, feel free to type your questions in the chat. So type your questions in the chat. We can answer them live. They're right here. But we're going to be going through a couple of fun things today. So I've got Mark Victor Hansen. For those of you who don't know who Mark is, Mark Victor Hansen is one of the #1 selling authors in the world. Sold book brands like Chicken Soup for the Soul, 1 Minute Millionaire, Aladdin Factor, and his newest book, Ask, which I have behind me here, Ask the Bridge from Your Dreams to Your Destiny. And so I'm going to bring him on, and we're going to go through some fun questions that we've got about authorship. So, Mark, welcome. How's it going today?
Hi, everybody. Delighted to be with you. And you, Preston, this is just more than exciting because, I love to write. And I've just been doing my biography with Mitzi Perdue's been writing it. It's been exciting to see the evolution over every decade. And I dreamt that someday I could be a speaker that wrote, and then I dreamt that I could be a writer that speaks. So it's a fascinating little itinerary. And I want all the good that I've desired and experienced, I want for everybody out there. I want everyone to fulfill their soul's destiny mission.
Awesome. I love it. Well, you've done that. You've inspired the world, and you've done it through words, and that's the purpose and the reason why we're here today and why Mark's here today is to inspire you to share your words, inspire you to write a book, because your words are powerful, and people that will listen to your book that are different than people that listen to my book, that are different than people listen to Mark's book. Maybe some of them are the same, but we can all inspire humanity and move humanity forward by writing our words in a book, sharing our thoughts in a book, sharing our knowledge in a book, and then giving that book to the world. And so talk to that for a minute. What do you think? What does a book create, in the world today?
There's a multiplicity of things that a book creates, obviously, like Preston was saying, but it gives you mega credibility. It makes you feel really good about yourself. It expands your self-esteem. It has legacy value because it's something that when all of us transition out of life, meaning that we die, it goes, first of all, your name, and then how long you live, like 82 years or 126 years. And then the next thing that's listed is whatever books you've written. And obviously, I've been blessed to write 318 books or co-authored them. And what I want to do is help you write your book, and we'll help you do that whether you want to go to self-publish, whether you want to publish with a major house, or whether you want to hybridize. We have a company called Mark Victor Hansen Publishing, Mark Victor Hansen Library, which is a ghostwriting publishing company. So you give us the ideas, the blessing, the principles that you want to communicate, and then we help you communicating in an omni-effective way on a pay-to-play basis. So we're in the most exciting time in human history because humanity is waking up. We have 4 billion people that don't have literacy, and thanks to people like Elon Musk, who put up the money for the X Prize in Africa, and they tested it. Dr. Peter Diamandis and Elon tested 3,000 kids in Swahili, and in 15 months, they learned the basics of reading, writing, and mathematics. And now they're doing another X Prize to take that literally around the world. And I could not be more excited or thankful because I know what the pain of illiteracy looks like from my family. So, my brothers and I are the first ones that got to go to college, and my parents didn't get to get an education coming out of what was called the old country. So I want everybody to have all the education that they want. And education is a lifelong thing. And when you start to write more, you read more. And I think I'm over answering your question, Preston. I'm going to do everything I can to stay linear, but I think exponentially.
Oh, no, that's all right. We're doing today. we're having fun, and our purpose here is to inspire people. So, we don't have to stay on topic. We don't have to stay in any lanes. We're just here to help people and to answer questions and to do some fun things. So, I have a list. So I looked up a list of questions that were really cool. Actually, there are questions, and it was something about like questions like what are the 50 best questions to ask an author. And so I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit with some of them. Some of them are creative, some of them are fun, but the first one says is interesting. It says what literary pilgrimages have you been on? So what I know that's kind of a broad topic. You've been on many journeys, but maybe you can talk about your pilgrimage, your literary pilgrimage.
Well, I think the first one, first of all, I fell in love with reading because of my high school English teacher, who was a great thespian, a great debater, a great thinker. And I was in his class when John F. Kennedy got killed, and he said, "Okay, everybody, the school's been released." It was 2:15 in the afternoon, and the principal said, "Go home." He said, "Let's stay until we've discussed everything that we could think about John F. Kennedy." And it just really touched my heart, and it was wonderful. But the real pilgrimage started probably, I wanted to become a speaker. I went bankrupt back in 1974. I'd listened to one tape. I'd sold my way through undergraduate school, and I listened to this one tape 287 times, and I never believed that guy would write me. But I wrote the dean of speakers, Cabot Robert, and he said, "I said, if you come into New York, let me take you to New York, anywhere in New York, Massachusetts, Connecticut, or New Jersey you want to go." Well, he responded. I picked him up my old beat up Volkswagen after the bankruptcy court, and then I joined the NSA. I'm a founding member of the National Speaker Association. He said you could do a multi-author book and sell it. Well, the first book I did, I got 14 people to write and stand up, speak out, and win. I asked them to put up $2,000 because I had no money, and that's the way I'd be able to pay for it. And I got them to underwrite it, and then I bought the books at $1 each. In the next year, selling little itty bitty audiences of 6, 10, 20 people in life insurance audiences. I sold 20,000 copies. I grossed $200,000. Well, today that's like $2 million. I went out and bought a brand new Chrysler Cordova car, got brand new wardrobe. And so I was off and running, but I was also addicted. The only thing I didn't do enough, and you say, well, you've written all those books now, and you've got we're writing 5 or 6 books right this minute just for me, and more for my wife, and we're doing some stuff that's going to become movies. It gets more exciting, hopefully the mind, Press said I have permission to let myself in the way I want to share, but writing and speaking is the only business in the world, ladies and gentlemen, it is a business. That's what we'll talk about. You got to have your business, then you got to have your marketing, and then you do your book, but the triangle of it. But the fact of the matter is, you get better as you get older. I'm 74 years young. I'm going to be 127th option for renewal. It behooves you to write, and you get more economical and productive in what you have to say as you mature, and it gets better and faster and hopefully somewhat easier. And your mind is thrilled. You're full of fulfillment and fulfillment as it goes forward. And the feedback you get, assuming you do a good job doing it, or do it with us and let us write what's called sticky for you at markvictorhansenlibrary.com, it'll blow your mind how fast it goes and grows and glows and makes your life better than ever. Back to you, Press. Was that what the answer you're looking for?
Yes, absolutely. That was perfect. Yeah, we've got a couple of people out there that are saying hello. Our friend Schwa from the Caribbean saying hello. We've got.
I think the world of you, and please keep the Caribbean beautiful and wonderful and inviting like you always have.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've got, let's see, a comment from Facebook here. Dr. Akani, I believe. Thank you for helping me fulfill all my goals and dreams of being a published author and a self-published author. Awesome.
Super.
Awesome. You're welcome. Yeah.
Dr. Akani, once you start, don't stop. One of the 38 principles we teach in this great book called You Have a Book in You, it says don't do anything you can't prequel and sequel. And I really learned that when I read the book by George Lucas. You know, he did Star Wars, and then he did Star Wars 6 and 7. And then I read all this stuff, and I got to meet Sylvester Stallone. And Jack and I used to joke about we're going to someday meet Sly Stallone, and he's going to say, Adrian, this is Rocky 168. Give me my cane.
Oh no, it's true. It's like life, you know. It's never ending. It's a constant progression, you know, of something new.
And more wisdom, right?
New ideas, new wisdom, new goals, new everything. Yeah, I had D Wilkins said he's got a lot of questions, but you know he's having a hard time thinking of them. And he said his 8-year-old son said, "Ask him how you get all your sales." I love that.
Okay. By the way, that goes back to one question Press had. Is it, you know, the interview questions for authors? What's different from me than any other author, as far as I know, and was told, I'm the only guy who interviewed 101 best-selling fiction and 101 best-selling nonfiction authors. I asked them all the same question your 8-year-old is so brilliant to ask. How did you sell multiple millions of books? And I asked that to the fiction people like Nora Roberts, who's now sold like 350 million books and writes a book long. She only writes longhand on a yellow pad, 55,000 words a week. God bless her. And you know, then I met our neighbor here who's just passed away, Clive Cussler, who I love his books. When I'm on vacation, I read Clive, and I just got a chance to write something about him because we've just found another biggest shipwreck ever that's been underwater for 110 years. And he found 60 shipwrecks. I had dinner with him one night with a few people, and it's just great. So those are the nonfiction guys. I said, Clive and Nora, tell me what you did. And then the nonfiction, like Jack and Dr. Canfield had gone to Harvard, and his classmate was Scott Peck, who had been 58 weeks #1 New York Times. It's a list like this, and then we were 58 weeks #1 and #2. That's what's so exciting. 1 and 2, Chicken Soup and Soul 1, and the second helping of Chicken Soup. Once in a while, they just switch back and forth. So it was great fun. But I wrote down what Scott had done, and I whited out his name, put our name was it, and put it on the mirror of my office, Jack's office, my home, and Jack's home. And what happened is I said, Scott, how do you do it? And I'll just give one of the tips. And what Scott said, look, Mark, what you're going to have to do is do PR every day, 5 days a week for the rest of your life. Now, ladies and gentlemen, listen close to what I say next. I love all the publishers. I'm with 7 major houses other than my own publishing house now. But so that'd be 8. The point is, and they're great, but they say do a 3-month tour, 20 big cities, all that. And then if the book doesn't sell, it's adios, bye-bye. They rip off the covers. They burn up the books. To me, that is heartbreaking because I believe every book should have a long tail. Preston and I believe that once you start a book, you sell it for the rest of your life. And do I want you to read all my books? Yeah, I get checks on books I wrote 47 years ago. So I think this is like the coolest business in the universe. There's not a longer lasting business. So yeah. And then, so to get those sales, you do what you got to do. And then, so where Scott Peck told us to do radio and TV shows, and the 2 top people that were in PR at the time, one was Ariel Ford. She's no longer doing it. The other was Rick Frischman. He just sold his company to Saatchi. But she was doing everybody from Dr. Wayne Dyer, had sold 70 million copies of books like Your Erroneous Zones and Sky's the Limit, all that kind of stuff. And it was a dear friend, and Harold Bloomfield and all that. So anyhow, I get with Ariel and I say, well, look, I'll pay the $5,000 a month for PR. You know, she said, okay, I'll take you, but I do it with resistance. And then we ended up becoming her biggest client. And then we were going to ABA, American Bookseller, where there's 60,000 people showing up, all the bookstore owners from the 19,000 bookstores, all the publishers, all the agents. And our publisher, HCI, Health Communications Inc., didn't like it, but I'd take the chair, I'd put it in the middle of the aisle, and we all had name tags. And there was a color, and still a color on a name tag says you're an author, you're a publisher, you're a publicist, you're media, one of those 4 things. And this guy's coming down, and I knew his picture because, ladies and gentlemen, if you read my book, like Future Diary, I say, write a list of 200 people you want to spend time with, play with, grow with, meet, and then put your picture next to their picture. And the law of attraction and action will get you to synchronize in time and space with that person. Well, coming down the aisle is this man diminutive in height, Rick Frischman, and man, I start shouting. Now the police had said, "You're not allowed to have that seat in the aisle. You're cluttering the aisle." Well, I was cluttering the aisle because I knew I needed to meet Frischman. I knew he was there. I knew he wouldn't take my telephone calls. I knew he was too busy. I knew he was the biggest of the big. I knew he did everybody that was anybody, but I knew exactly what I wanted because he helped Scott Peck do 20 radio shows a day. Now, in the old days when I started, I said, Dr. Wayne Dyer used to carry his books in the back of his car and then into every talk, but he was on the radio and then said, "I'll be at this university or this club tonight or at Carnegie Hall." And I carry in his books, open them up, help him sell them, and hand them to him as fast as possible to write because I apprenticed to him and learned how he did it. But now suddenly Scott's saying, "Look, you can do this thing called phoners." And I impressed Rick Frischman. He said, "Okay, I'll take your $5,000 a month." But I said, "Look, I want to do it like Scott does, 20 in one day, so I can spend 19 days a month working on my other tasks." He said, "Okay." So, because we lived in California, we had to start at 3 a.m. in the morning. I did, which meant I had to get up at 1:30, drive down to LA. And, boy, your mind is going like this. You're hardly awake, even though you're drinking coffee, but you're doing all these 20 shows, 5, 10, 20, some half hour, some an hour, and you're leaving at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Your mind's like this. You're going, holy cow, because it's just like, I don't know what press is going to ask or what you're going to write in and ask. And I am open to any questions you've got. But that's how hard it was then. Now, just to switch it to fast forward, here I am in my own little office at home. Zoom got invented because COVID-19 confinement showed up. And the number I last saw that we've done is 410 Zoom calls literally around the world. So we're selling as many books in Vietnam or Australia or England or Germany or Africa as here. We're in a unique time. So the New York Times list doesn't mean quite as much because I'm number one in a couple other countries. And we're in a fascinating new time, and you need to be using your brain power. And then last question to the 8-year-old's question, before you go to sleep, God, give me the mind of a mega marketing idea for my book. Give me the mind of a mega marketing idea so I can sell 1 million of my books or 100,000 or 10,000 or 100, whatever it is you want, but do it repetitiously 400 times before you go to sleep. And during the night, your subconscious will wake up because your subconscious never sleeps. It'll go out in the universe, say, in my case, Mark, do exactly this. And then you wake up, you've got to get out your little butt out of bed, write in detail what you're going to do. And you better tell your sweetie and say, "Listen, I was listening to Mark Victor Hansen. It sounds like a nutso idea, but he says it worked for him. It obviously worked for Thomas Alva Edison to make all those inventions. It obviously worked for his teacher, Bucky Fuller. It works for a lot of people, so I'm going to give it a shot." And it's absolutely worked for Dr. Canfield and myself.
Yep. So you heard it out there. You got to put your face out there. You got to do the work. That's what I've always had people come to us since we've been writing books for people and doing book projects and helping people fulfill their dreams. And I've had people say, "Oh, I want to write a book, but I just want to write it and then have someone else go sell it for me." But that's not the solution. You got to be the face of the book. And what I've learned from you and your great wisdom is that and logic a little bit too, is if you're not willing to go and be the face of that book, why should anyone else care?
Right. And by the way, what Preston's saying is absolutely accurate. When you're done with the book, you're 10% done. 10%, that's it. 90% is your advertising, your marketing, your hustling. And to hitchhike on one more thing the 8-year-old wants to know is you got to do bypass marketing. And years ago, the Red Cross was out of blood. Liddy Dole came to me and said, "Can you get it?" And I said, "Let's go to the medical doctor." She said, "They won't do it. I've tried that." And so I said, "We'll go to the chiropractors. That's one of my 4 marketplaces. They see 77,000 doctors, see 250,000 people a month." And we did it. And we got a 1.5 year cryogenically blood. Well, interesting. If you want to send your name into reception at markvictorhansen.com, we'll send you a free copy of my mini biography written by Mitzi if you'll give a pint of blood. And we're now raising blood again for the American Red Cross, and we're going to give away 1.5 million of those. And we're going to launch the biggest biography sale. It's called Relentless about Mark Victor Hansen. And because I am relentless, I love selling, and I've loved selling since I was 9. But I want all of you to start telling yourself, I'm a master salesperson. I love selling my books. I have fun selling my books. This is a joy to my heart. It gives my metaphorical biceps and triceps exercise, because you all have entrepreneurial talents, every one of you, that is just unrequited. And what we're going to get is to get it requited. Boy, I hope that's true. I got to look up requited and make sure I used it right.
Well, I'm not going to try and correct you, so we'll just leave it. I know it's good, but no, that's awesome. I've got one. I've got a couple good questions coming up here, but here's one that's kind of fun. What's the first book that made you cry? Now I know there's probably been quite a few books, because I know.
I'm going to go backwards. First of all, my wife wrote the foreword to the book that Preston talked to you about, the prologue to Ask, The Bridge from Your Dreams to Destiny, the story of Michaela. And then what's happened is that we were asked by Hollywood. We got a greatest agent. I mean, this guy is just beyond phenomenal. And nobody wanted us. And then this guy fell in love with Crystal, and thank God, Carlos Carrera. And he said, well, what do we got to do? We got to write, it's only 40 pages and we need a 100-page script. So we called the guy who I wrote the foreword to, Jim Stovall's book, who Preston and I met with and loved. This guy's blind, and he made $100 million with his first movie, because I said, The Ultimate Gift reads so well, it has got to be a major movie. And he says, when Mark Victor Hansen talks, the world listens, and they listen better to me about other people than myself. But now suddenly Crystal and I are doing it. Well, she has written and expanded the fable into a movie. And I was reading it last night. It ripped out my heart. And then we got 6 other people that are all movie people. They're reading it and going, oh, this is going to be bigger than them. And it's wonderful. Now, back to the question of the first book that made me cry, I would say The Little Engine That Could. And I think that has been sort of the theme of my life, because The Little Engine That Could, all of you have read it, I hope. If you haven't, and you got kids, or better yet, grandkids, like I'm really close to our grandkids, is that you want to read that to them, because I think I can, and then I'll say I did. And it's everyone says, well, I could write a kid's book like that. Well, good, go write one, and you go sell 100 million copies, because that's the last number I read. It may be higher now, but it is a great little book. And I would suggest that, just like reading Think, Grow Rich, I've read it hundreds of times, to my kids and now our grandkids, when they have the pleasure, or we have the joy of them sleeping over. Because I want everyone in the world to be able to read and be free.
That's awesome. I love that answer. I don't think that people were predicting a kid book is your answer for that. That's awesome. It's good.
My parents didn't have the money to buy me the bicycle I wanted. I wanted a racing bicycle. Within today's dollars is, I know Preface. I've been to Preface's garage, and he's got like a $8,000 or $12,000 bike. That's kind of wanted, of course. But a 9-year-old didn't understand that my parents didn't have a possibility in their head. If their car cost $400 or $500, that was a big deal, and I want this bike. So I go out and I'm reading Boy Scout. I was Boy Scout, and I read Boy Scout Life magazine that says you can sell greeting cards and consignment. Well, I look up my Funkin' Wagnalls and said that means they give it to you, you sell it, and send them half the money. And so I sold 376 boxes of Christmas cards in 1 month in the deep snow of Waukegan, Illinois. And Dad took half that money and put it in my college fund, which I didn't understand, because he wasn't articulate at explaining it. He knew why I needed to save it, because he wasn't going to be able to pay my way through school, but I didn't get the message. And we're in an immigrant neighborhood. Everybody was from Denmark, and they were all lovely and wonderful people, horrible names you never heard before, but none of them could explain why you ought to go get higher education, except things look better for you to have higher education. And today, things look better if you're omni-educated. I'm going to just hit on that. I'm going a little too far here, but you can get an academic education, great. That's okay. But never stop your self-help education. Now, I write all these books on self-help action, like How to Think Bigger Than You Ever Thought You Could Think, Aladdin Factor, the Chicken Soup books. You have a book in you, 318 books, and I'm not done, but I've read or touched at least 50,000 books in my library, and highlighted them and circled them and written notes. And my wife can't believe it. When we're writing a book, I can go back to the book, almost to the page, and find out where I've written something 20, 30 years ago. And said, how do you do that? I said, I don't know. The mind is amazing. The mind never forgets anything. The subconscious just knows stuff. And I'm saying to all of you, you're more expert, you're more wise, you're more insightful. You've got stuff that you've got to become an information entrepreneur, called an infopreneur.
Yep, I love it. I love it. All right, we've got a really good question. I like this one here, and I've got a couple ideas around this, but I'm going to throw it at you first and see what you think here. So it's, does your book establish your credibility, or does your credibility qualify you to write a book?
By the way, D, I love the question. What a great name, D. Wilkins. Another D is a guy who created, I read his whole book, the guy who created Visa card and made himself do trillions of dollars worth of business. But back to your card, the book gives you mega credibility because a book is a piece of authority. And when I was doing all the sales training, all the life insurance companies in America, which curiously enough are starting to come back to me, which is sort of a mind blower. The other day, we're doing a whole new business in NFTs, and the guy is the biggest guy. They're going to do NFTs in life insurance business to make sure they can pay all these crazy claims because of COVID. And it came to us, and I thought, this is amazing. I worked for these same guys 40 years ago, and now they're coming back. But it's because they still own my books from there and looked at my name and then go online, and it's easy to get to me. So I say I say something different. The book gives you the credibility, but you've got to decide that you are mega credible. Like people say, well, you're like, because I used to live in John Wayne's hometown. John Wayne said he was John Wayne. You are Mark Victor Hansen. You always say, I'm Mark Victor Hansen. That's true. I've always said I'm Mark Victor Hansen. I don't want to be anyone else. The point is, it's top down, inside out. I had faith that Mark Victor Hansen with self-trust and faith with the substance of things hoped for, evidence of things not believed, according to the poet of the Bible, Apostle Paul, right? He says that in Hebrews 11:1. But so I think it's that way. What do you think, Press? Please.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, I think that, I think that I always like to look at the book as a platform, as a foundation or a launching point for your credibility. And I believe that, and here's what I think is, that you don't have to be the expert before you write the book, and you can write the book and become the expert from the book. Because once you put your ideas into a book, your ideas are out there, and they're out there for people to accept, or they're there for people to reject, and they're for people to test, and they're for people to run through everything you want. But your book becomes a foundation of who you are and what you represent and what you stand for. So if you put it in a book and you put it out there to the world, you can become that person, or you can become that brand, or you can become that idea that you represent, and you don't necessarily have to be before the book. So we got Grant Cardone, who Grant commented here. He said, the cover of Ask is beautiful and unique and eye-catching me. I love how it strikes up conversations whenever someone sees me carrying it. So that's Grant. I know you've hung out with Grant, so he likes it.
We bring Grant on so Grant gets to talk, because Grant came to town and we went to see him. We got invited to a private meeting, and what he's talking about is this book, Ask, The Bridge from Your Dreams to Your Destiny, and it has a cover that has sacred geometry on it, and it's destined to get you to your soul's destiny, which is what we think. And I got to tell you, because I'm so impressed with Cardone and Grant, is that he knows how to get to his soul destiny better than anybody I know, because here's a guy that was nobody from nowhere, has done, the last number I know is 6,000, it's probably 7,000 now, podcasts. And then he started doing more stuff, real estate, charging a lot of money, and is now running multiple businesses, but is worth, last number I saw is $2.4 billion. But Crystal and I had the great privilege of being with he and his wife and his kids. And I'm getting into the car, and his kids happen to walk outside right when we're there with the bodyguard. And they say, we really love being with you and my dad. And they said, do you have any more of those books? And luckily I had a truck, our SUV was full of them. So I went and I signed one to the kids. I signed it to the bodyguard, and the bodyguard's still looking around, because when you're worth billions of dollars, you got to have a bodyguard. But Grant was so utterly kind and generous to us in introducing us to everybody that was anybody, which is why you want to have the mega credibility of a book and carry the books with you and give it to everybody. And let me just talk to that ever so quick. Is there a way you can bring Grant on, Preston?
No, he was just chatting. So I don't know where to reach him.
Hypothetical.
But he's the example of being a machine, like we were talking about.
He's a machine.
That face that's out there all the time, repping yourself, being that brand ambassador. And that's, I think what's been a driving force to his success. I used to run the car dealerships and the car business, and he was heavy in the car world with training, and I had a business partner that loved Grant's training. And so we did, the 10X training with salespeople and everything, and pushing them to do all that stuff. But it's great, great stuff. But yeah, you have to do that. Yeah, in Straw, you had a chance. Is that Grant, the 10X Grant Cardone? Yes, it's the 10X Grant Cardone. So that's
right.
But yeah, it is. You've got to be there. You've got to be that brand. You've got to be that that reach out thing to get it out there and launch, and then build whatever it is you want to be an expert is. And you look at like that question earlier. The 10X Grant positioned himself to be the expert of growth, personal growth, business growth, strategic growth, and had the background in real estate. And so you can position, if you've got good thoughts and you've got good ideas and you put them down into a book, then you can, the limits of what you can do are endless.
Yeah, let me talk to that. First of all, I'm a great fan of Grant's. I bought every one of his books. I've got it in his whole library over. I've read all of them. But his 10X, before he even said that, or I read that to him, we did the same thing here. When Bob Allen and I wrote the 1 Minute Millionaire, right, the Enlightened Way to Wealth, and then we ultimately did a seminar called Enlightened Millionaire Seminar. We had 4,000 people a week come, 40 weeks in a row, grossed to $100 million. 3 of us owned it, myself, Bob, and Tom Painter. And it's 2 books in one. It's great. And the little butterfly flies off and into freedom by the end. But it's a left brain book. On the left-hand side, it shows you, how to do it. And the right-hand side is a story that gets you involved in becoming rich. But we got $1 million from Random House, which is the biggest publishing house in the world, and great. And Bob and I sat there and we said, well, sell 1 million of these because we've not sold a money book like this before. He'd sold 20 million copies of Nothing Down, How to Buy Real Estate for Nothing Down, the biggest real estate book of its time at that time. It was amazing to me that we said, well, look, it'd be hard to sell 1 million. So why don't we say we got to sell 10 million and then sell 1 million? It's easy. And we ended up selling 3.6 million. But to start with, when we go to a bigger idea, a 10X idea, here what happened to our mind. We said, well, if we had to sell 10 million, what would we do? Well, this came out, I think it was October 1st. Is that right? It came out in 2001. I think it was October 1st. In any case, it was right after 9/11. And so there were some problems, but this is before spam. So what we did is we partnered up. Bob had owned the Jazz at one time at the basketball team. And he knew really well Paul Allen, the guy who created Ancestry.com, not Paul Allen. Bill Gates is a former partner who just died of Hodgkin's disease, who was a friend of my wife's. But Paul Allen, we said, hey, look, you got all these people. Can we send out 3 million emails before they're spam and say, hey, look, if you'll buy a copy of this book on October 1st, Amazon was only open from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Sorry. On that day, we'll give you $250 worth of electronic download stuff of Mark's and $250 electronic download stuff of Bob's. Well, what happened is it went. We were at Bob and I slept over at a giant home in Rancho down at San Diego, Rancho Santa Fe. But we started at 6 o'clock. We were at like 79,000. By 10 o'clock, we're at 750. And all of a sudden, you watch Amazon go, and we crashed and burned Jeff Bezos. And he called within about 2 hours and said, okay, I got 3 tickets for you guys. Fly up here first class. I got to meet with you guys. Damn, if I knew who he was going to become, I would have videotaped all of it. It would have been smarter than us. But we were just so thinking, wow, this guy's cool. But what Bezos had said is, Bob and I, when we were writing 1 Minute Millionaire, he was on TV saying nobody can sell more books than I, the world's biggest bookseller, Amazon can deliver. So I looked at Bob, and Bob had just written a book called Challenge, where he said, send me to any city, and they sent him San Francisco with a $100 bill. He bought $1 million worth of real estate in 24 hours, and then said, send me to the unemployment line. I'll get everybody in the unemployment line making $5,000 a month, or I'll pay them $5,000 for a year. And he did that. So I said, Bobby, I think you and I just heard Jeffy is challenging you and I to melt him down and see if we can sell more than he did. And he wanted to know how we did it. And he was astounded and was happy to meet with us and pay for us. So what I'm saying is the book business is fun, and your job is to outthink, outwork, outsell, outpromote, outdeliver. And that's what Grant Cardone's done. He is a joyous man who really is thrilled to be doing what he's doing and get to hang out with everybody that he's hanging out with. And he was supposed to have like 150 people here at the meeting at Roaring Fork, and I don't remember how many came. I think 400 or 500 showed up just because he had said you got to have a ticket. Luckily, I had 2 tickets, and if I knew that I could have gotten you in, Press, I would have brought you in, Brookie. It was amazing.
No, he's a force. He's like got a crowd around him all the time, but it's because he shows up everywhere and does his thing. So here,
showing up at our show is sort of astounding for me. From now on, we got to learn how. We got to talk to Ken Walls, who's his best buddy, and say, how do we get him to sneak in on the show? Because it'd be fun just to have him join us. Or we'll do one with him. That'd be fun.
Yep. Yeah, we'll do it for sure. So here, I've got another question. How do you determine the best market for your book, and how do you connect with them?
Okay, so there's a thing called warm market and cold market. Let's talk about both. There's a warm market. Those are the people that know you, love you, respect you, admire you, and cherish you. And I told you I got 4 basic markets. The church market's been big for me. The whole chiropractic market's been big for me. The real estate franchise market's been big. And the promotional stars is big for me because I'm good at selling stuff from a platform. I mean, high quantities of stuff, and there's a split. So that'd be my warm market. The cold market is the market that may know you or you have access to that nobody else is doing. And there's a lot of those. Just like I say in this book, there's a million ways to make a million, and there's one right, easy, perfect, acceptable way to you. Well, there's a million markets. Well, there's more than a million markets. There's 8 billion markets. And thanks to the decentralization, thanks to the internet, you have more access to more people in more ways than ever before. And I'm telling you that all books are going to end up going digital. They're going to go audio. They're going to go video. They're going to ultimately go metaverse, which our company, Mark Victor Hansen Library, is going to expand in all those over time. So I don't know what if somebody is more specific, I can show you the market. You tell me the problem. And by the way, every book has got to solve a problem. I say an entrepreneur finds a problem, solves it, scales it exponentially, and then goes makes a vast profit, which is exactly what Christ said to do. I mean, everything Christ did was exponential. I mean, he has no wine and has jugs of wine. I don't remember how many there were, but filled with water, and then he turns into wine. When 15,000 people show up and they're hungry, and the little kid has a little fish, 2 fish and bread, he feeds 15,000 and ends up with 12 baskets left over. That's exponential. And if you want to get rich, you got to be exponential. Now, the danger here is the publishing industry says, well, the average book sells 500 to 5,000. Why would you want to be average? You want to evict mediocrity. You want to go to a meritocracy. You want the best of the best. And that's what I want to do is I want to help you so I can pat you on the shoulder, because a lot of you write Preston and I say, well, I'm going to outsell you and sell over 500 million books that you sold. Good. Look, I was called on the Amazon bestseller list. I was called the Roger Bannister of books. And I said to Mark Devereaux, who runs that show, and I've been on it twice, I'm going on 3rd time here shortly. Mark said, you're the Roger Bannister of books. I said, great. Do you know what happened a week later? And I said, no idea. I said, 119 people ran a 4-minute mile. Now, physiologically, anatomically, we are no different. What were we different? We broke the barrier, right? I'm breaking the barrier. Nora Roberts is breaking the barrier. Daniel Steele is breaking the barrier. Clive Cussler broke the barrier. Those guys are all fiction writers, but I'm a nonfiction writer, but I want to break the barrier at both places. And my goal is audacious. I want to sell 1 billion books. Nobody's ever done it, but I will do it. And even if I'm not alive, after I'm gone, the books will keep selling because I've set it up with a long tail.
Yep. So here we've got a book. This is an interesting question. This is from Pam. So she said, can you publish a visual book off of Canva? And then she had another question. She said, I'm publishing a photographic book, and the cost of color photos seems too ridiculous. So I thought of publishing on Canva with a verbal soundtrack. Does that sound marketable? I don't know about publishing directly on Canva actually, and so we're not real familiar with that. I know it's fantastic for graphics and graphic designing and things like that. I know that you can make book covers on Canva or different things like that. They have guides and outlines that you can follow and do that in a reasonable way. But I think as far as publishing it, I don't know what their capabilities are. Yeah. So what?
I've got two ideas for you, Pam. Number one is go back to Canva, partner with them and say, hey, you guys make this the biggest, best first book. And now you got a whole new marketplace. Because remember, I teach everyone, I'm not wearing my ring today, but Bob Proctor and I created MSI's, multiple sources of income, and you wrote to it and all that, and created the $1 Million Forum and then the 3% Club, made more millionaires than anyone. The point is, they would love to have somebody like you come and say, hey, wait a second, maybe a whole book is you're not the book cover. So that's number one. Number two is when I saw what you said flash across the screen, it said volleyball. I can't tell you how many people play volleyball, but I know that Preston's kids do. There are two things, volleyball sunsets. So let's do volleyball first. Find out all the volleyball associations and decide to sell through them. And let's say, let me do it easy. Let's say your book's $10 and you're selling it electronically with Canva, and you're going to give $2 back to each volleyball association, national, state, local, for their individual sales effort, not to each of them. And then you got $8, and it does cost nothing electronically. And then you got to give Canva, let's say $3 out of that, and you still end up with $5. That's like a heck of a deal. Now, the other thing is sunsets. I don't know anyone in the right mind who doesn't love sunsets or sunrises, assuming you want to get up early in the morning. Wow, we'll do this question in a second, but my wife and I stopped on a road here. We have some of the more magnificent sunsets in the world right here in Arizona. And we stopped to take a sunset picture that was just so spectacular. A guy comes running out of the cactus. We're known in our state for cactus, cattle, cotton, climate, and my wife, Crystal. Anyhow, this guy comes running up and he's got cameras all over his front. And he was a photographer for Arizona Highways. He said, look, I just got that picture. And if your picture is not good enough, here's my card. You just send me a note and I'm going to send you a free cover of a magazine that's coming up. And it's like, holy cow, the guy came out of the woodwork to help us. Now, I saw the question flip and I was trying to answer it. So can you bring that question back up? Can we flip?
That was actually a comment. It said you can convert Canva. Someone was commenting about Canva. So I just posted it up there. It said you can convert into flip books, too. So someone was just suggesting.
Well, first of all, way cool. And flip books, by the way, when we said earlier, there's markets that you might not think of. Let me just give you two examples. If you go, I had to go to Staples yesterday to buy some stuff. And Staples is selling flip books, with spiral rung. That's number one. Number two is that in the old days when people were complaining because I was selling more books than everybody and saying I was hogging the market, I just kept finding new markets. Like I did the deal with the $4 stores, which are now going into price because of inflation. They're having their own problem, but Dollar Family, Family Dollar, all those kind of stores. And people said, well, why are you screwing up the whole market and you're blah, blah, blah. And they besmirched me. And I said, no, you're missing it. The person who buys my book for $1 gets 3 stories in Chicken Soup for the Soul. And I get 15% of it. And I sold 15 million books there last year because no one else sees that as a market. Now, you could say that person's down and out and they're living on Twinkies and not doing well. But I think two things. Number one, giving them my book and giving them, I believe I'm here to edify, inspire, and educate everyone I can get to. I think that's a magnificent use of my talent and time to do those mini books. And I recommend it to all of you. And then number two is maybe that person, generally speaking, will not darken the door of a Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, Hudson, and they're not going to be in airports because they haven't got any money. So it's just, it's fascinating. But I'm telling you, there's more markets than we've ever had before, not less. Somebody wrote something and I couldn't read it fast enough. What is y'all?
There's just some best sunsets ever. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Well, first of all, I love looking at your sunsets when you're done, Pam. I mean, once you collate it as a book, I want to see the finish. It'd be great.
Yep. So, let's see which question I want to do here. What Uh, let's see. Oh, these are all fun questions.
We're going to teach we're going to teach Preston to read, and then, ladies and gentlemen, imagine what we can do with these interviews.
I'm going to learn how to read a whole question at one time, and then eventually I'll get to a book.
By the way, he and I are best friends, so I tease him once in a while. It's not fair because I'm in a position here that's supposed to be an authority, but it's just so much fun. All of us stutter once in a while.
All right. So, what is your writing kryptonite then? This is good timing for this question. What is your writing kryptonite?
What's my writing? What?
So it says, "What is your writing kryptonite?" So kryptonite is
kryptonite.
I
thought kryptonite was what made Superman get weak.
Well, yeah, it is. That is what makes Superman get weak. So that's an interesting, question.
Oh, so my writing kryptonite is when I write too long. Like I have out of 318 books so far, and I'll finish another 4 or 5 this year because we've got some really extraordinary things happening that have markets that nobody else sees again. Like we're doing one trash to cash, taking all the garbage in the world and turning it in. And Preston knows all about that with a guy named Dean Rose. But the point is, back to the question, my kryptonite is once in a while, because I've never missed a deadline, I'm working my butt off and writing 18 hours a day. And kryptonite for me is being tired and gone, and I push through it. And I got to edit it and rewrite it all the next morning when I wake up. So it's better if I go to sleep and wake up, 2 or 3 hours later and finish it on time, which I've had publisher tell me, well, you're about a month late. I'm not most people. If I was most, I wouldn't be as successful as I am. I figure out what we're going to do and then we get it done. And my goals are in writing. And I ask you to put your goals. I did a whole thing on writing goals called Future Diary. So, and another book called Dare to Win. So you can read those if you're interested in how to set big goals.
Yep. Awesome. All right. Did you ever consider writing under a pseudonym? So, yeah. That's
well.
For those of you that don't know, what a pseudonym is, it's basically a pen name. It's a name, that's not your name to write under someone else. So yeah, go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, so I'm scholarly and there are a lot of writers, and it's interesting. We were in England, my wife and I, and there's a pseudonym went both ways. Shakespeare purportedly wrote Bacon, and Bacon purportedly wrote Shakespeare. I don't think that's true. I think Shakespeare wrote Shakespeare, Bacon copied Shakespeare and wrote him, but I don't think. So back to me about a pseudonym. I haven't got time to write all that I do. The only people that did a pseudonym are like Stephen King. Couldn't get his stuff published. Can you imagine Stephen King not get his stuff published? And he no longer lives in Maine. He now lives in Sarasota, Florida. I'm told by one of his neighbors who says he wants you to come down. I said, I love his writing. It's a little horrific for me, but it's a different zone. I write positive, pleasant stuff. Anyhow, and the other one is under a pseudonym is Nora Roberts. She writes under 4 titles like J.D. Robb and all that. And because what happens is she writes, I said, 55,000 words longhand. Well, that means every 2 weeks she finishes a book. Well, most publishers go, I'm choking on this. You're giving me too much. I can't figure out how to sell it. So, like in our blended family, we have 5 kids, and one of my daughters reads a book a day. So whoever she falls in love with, like let's say she fell in love with Nora Roberts, she eats and devours Nora's books. And I can't tell you the number of Nora's books, but right now off the top of my head, I can look it up like you can. But it's a lot, and she would just drink it in because she loves romance novels.
All right, awesome. So let's see, I've got another one. What are common traps for aspiring writers? That's a pretty interesting.
By the way, I think there are a lot of common traps. First of all, your self-worthfulness, meaning you got to keep telling yourself you're worthy, you're important, because editors are going to bleed all over you, just like your high school teacher or elementary school teacher did on your papers. I think being afraid you're not going to get published, which doesn't happen today, because today, whether you go to a big house and can get with a major house, whether you go to a mini house out of desktop publishers like Manalma, Press, whether you can go to a hybrid like our house or you self-publish, those are your 4 basic options. And the new thing now, which Crystal and I saw POD, print on demand, when it came out, this is like a major technological breakthrough, but the POD means print on demand. We have 11 places in America that does print on demand under the major company Ingram, which prints most people's books and distributes them for everybody nowadays. But they got a machine that originally was going to go in Walmart, and any book they had the architecture for, you could put in your money. Let's say it was $5 or $10 for the book, or put in your credit card, and it would stamp out the whole book in 5 minutes, whether it was, hardbound, whether it was soft bound, like my Richest Kids in America, whether it's what we do with our book, like the one Preston and I wrote. This is called Oversized Trade, right? How to be up and down times, right? And that's where all my original tapes, like 38 sets of tapes, G&D came back to me and said, we're going to do all of them, like Unlimited Riches, Creating Self-Replenishing Prosperity. Well, all these are just coming out now, which is, I wrote this stuff 40 years ago and never, I sold a heck of a lot of tapes. I mean, tens of millions of dollars worth of tapes, but it never dawned on me that somebody would come back to me during COVID and say, hey, look, readership is way up. I mean, it's billions of dollars more than ever. Can we do your books and transcribe, but you got to bring them up to date. I said, I bring them up to date and you're paying me to do something I already got paid for? This is like the way coolest business on the planet, ladies and gentlemen. This is why I say, if you start writing, don't stop, because some of you are going to say, well, I got 6 or 7 books in my head at the same time. Well, I did the last interview with Steve Allen, the guy who created the Tonight Show and 7,000 plays, 7,000 songs. Like, I'm into something big, and Broadway plays and stand-up comedy. But Steve said he was told he's dyslexic, like my friend Richard Branson. He reads upside down and backwards totally. So he dictates, but he had 28 tape recorders, and he dictates into it because he said you can never have writer's block in 28 subjects at the same time. And your mind, I'm going to use a word, I hope I'm correct in it, differentially. Sometimes it's more on this zone than that zone. And I know that's true of mine. And that's why you say, well, what do you do? I got 7 or 8 books going at any given time, writing and reading. And I can always go back and pick up where I was reading, whoever I was reading. If I'm reading escapism, like I've brought up the name a couple times, Clive Cussler came up with a new book. And we've been at meetings with his wife the last couple of weeks at different meetings, and just re-inspired me to read him for escapism once I've had a day of, right? Because my mind is wide awake and could not be more excited that it has never been better for a writer than it is right this minute. Now, if you're not selling any books, it's not the marketplace. It's not the publisher. It's you. So read my book. You have a book, and you would spend most of its time telling you how to market and do bypass marketing, because the market is 8 billion people for the first time thanks to cell phones. And if you decide you're going to be a master marketer of books, a master marketer of audio, a master marketer of videos, a master market and podcaster. I mean, it is infinite, growing, expanding, and going to keep getting bigger and better for all of us.
Yep. And I've got another question here. This is an interesting question from Mr. Nelson. It says, I was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, started writing daily. Now I have multiple books written and ready to be released. Should I roll them all out at one time, or launch my publishing company and just release the multiple? So should I launch them at one time, or should I do them in a series of different things? So what are your thoughts?
First of all, Mr. Nelson, thanks for sharing that. And I would say that you should get so excited about writing these, delivering all 4 at once, that it makes you well. Now, let me just tell you, our publishing company had a guy that was dying and started writing a book, and now he's well. Now you say, well, come on, Mark, that's really, you're telling me something to doctors. You got to be careful. Don't listen to voodoo medicine from even greatest medical doctors in the world and say, you got stage 4, and it's adios, sayonara, goodbye, Mr. Nelson. I was in graduate school with Bucky Fuller. His best friend was Dr. Norman Cousins, the guy who did Saturday Review magazine. Cousins had what you got and was told, adios, sayonara, go die. And then he ends up healing himself by laughing his way well. And he, look up Norman Cousins' book. The title is, I got it almost. Anyhow, whatever the title of Norman's book is, he ended up becoming a head of medicine. He was a PhD, but head of medicine, a phenomenal writer. And he found out that when you laugh, you get the endorphins going. When you write, if you're excited about your writing, you get the inner uppers. If you're excited, if you schedule a bunch of talks, your mind goes wide awake, and the inner uppers, the endorphins, go healing. Now, inner uppers, the endorphins create your white blood cell count, is what Norman Cousins said. And that's why he watched To Get Out of Cancer 4. He watched, I'm doing this off the top of my head, so it's 3 hours or 4 hours a day of the best comedy, Robin Williams and everybody. I can't think of all the names. Anyhow, he left his way well. And he said that was the best medicine, and just got cleared last week. There you go. And by the way, you need to share. Yes, congratulations. Everybody go like this at your home. That means we're applauding you. Is it everybody? You need to that. I hope that's one of your 4 books, because that's what we got to do, Mr. Nelson, is get sick people well by getting them. What we're teaching in our Ask book is that you got a soul's purpose. And if you're on mission to your soul's purpose, you don't got time to get sick. People say, how did you do so many talks, almost 7,000 talks, and you didn't miss them? I didn't miss them because I didn't have time to get sick. I was booked. I had to go somewhere. So my mind said, you haven't got time to get this or that. I mean, I don't care that flu's going around. It's going to go around me. When the recession's going around, it's going to go around me. When the depression goes around, it goes around me. Look, 25% of people get rich during a depression or recession. I want to be in the upper 25, not the lower 25. I want all of you to be there with me. I mean, there's more than enough. God only made universe abundant, right? I've come to you, might have life and have more abundantly. John 10:10. You're here to have an extraordinary, abundant, faithful life that just titillates you at the fiber of your being. Like I'm excited to share this stuff with you, and I hope this excites you. If it does, listen to more on YouTube and get my books and read them, and hopefully you'll come to one of the seminars. We've got them all over, showing up here in Arizona, and then we're in Utah, we're in Dallas, we're in Atlanta getting another degree. Anyhow, we're having a lot of fun. So you can go online and look at all of them. They're all about to be registered where we're going, because the market's opened up again, and it's more exciting than it's ever been, as far as I'm concerned.
Yep. I love it. Yeah. So, all right, I don't know if we totally answered that question. So should he do all the 4 books at the same time, or what? All 4 at once?
Because the buyer buys. So let's say they're $25 a book. You sell a $100 package and say, if you get all of it today, it's only $80, and then sign all of them. The only trick I'll teach you about signing is that I used to, the first time when I came out, stand up, speak out, and win, I had 37 people in line, and that I didn't get to sell because I was writing long stuff, and the bar mitzvah was coming in. They kicked me out. So I quickly learned from my friend Og Mandino, the guy who I hope you read Greatest Salesman in the World. Og said, just write Og, O-G. And I just wrote Mark, M-A-R-K. And because I like you, your wife, your kids, your dog, right? Now I was just having too much fun just being a celebrity. And more important, you just sign it and get them a book, because they need to take it. And I felt bad my whole life that I missed those 37 people. I hope somewhere along the line they saw my name again and bought a different book.
Oh, that's good. So there you go, your answer. Go release your books. Go put them out into the world. Go share your messages. Because there's no reason to wait. The world's waiting for your message. So go share your story. Go write it. Go do it, and bring it out there. We're wrapping up here on time. We're coming up. I'll do one more question here, and then we'll wrap up. And then, for everyone that liked, our meeting and our get together here too. We'll be back next month to talk and inspire more. So you can come back and meet us here and bring more questions about authorship. And for anyone that's looking at actually diving in and doing it, and if you want to write a book, and if you want to get help from Mark and learn his wisdom and his tips and his tricks, you can sign up in the link. You can go to his website, markvictorhansen.com, and sign up for the You Have a Book in You course. You can check out the links in the chat. You can sign up if you're looking to get a book written and you don't have the time to do it. You can check out the Mark Victor Hansen library and talk to us. We have a team of ghostwriters, and we can take your vision and your story, build it so you can go and share it with the world. And so for our last question today, let's see, I've got this one that's always an important one. It's from our brother from the Caribbean, Schwa. Mark, what is your take on book titles? A one-word title or a more descriptive title? And I know we've got a formula that we teach about titles. that Mark has developed. So what do you say about titles? What do you want to say about titles today?
Well, first of all, great questions, and you're a great friend, and we hope to see you in the Caribbean sometime soon. The title has got to be the emotional thing that grabs them, and it's got to grab them fast. So one word titles like "Ask" here is just like so perfect, and God gave it to Crystal and I. I don't want to claim any credit. I don't know, maybe she gets credit. I don't know. She may audit it. I don't know that. And then the subtitles got to be the logic that seals the deal on it. And you got to make sure it's a title that they instantly understand. Like Chicken Soup of the Soul, you instantly understand. That's what grandma or mom gave you when you're sick to get well. And when Jack and I started, we thought, whoa, the soul of America is in trouble. We discovered it sold 374 million books in capitalistically China before it became communistic China. It means the same thing there, which is amazing. So you want to have a title that is instantly communicated. In our book, you have a book in you, Preston. I've got 8 different ways to do titles, and there's a perfect title for every book. But you got to make sure it resonates with the marketplace that you're selling to, and it's instant, that they get it and they go, oh yeah, that's exactly what I got to have.
Oh, yep. Awesome. So we had a question too. Someone was asking, is the workshop different from the book? You have a book in you, and so yeah, it is different. So if you go and you sign up for the You Have a Book in You training course, what you get with that are 12 main core lessons that guide you through all sorts of different things: storytelling, outlining, writing your book, building your book into a business, marketing, building a brand to command. So it teaches you not only how to write the book, but what to do beyond it. And it's a lot of inspiration and stories and things to inspire you to think of things that you didn't think of. And then you can incorporate that in your book. And then it's also supported with another, there's probably 50 different supporting tools and things, from worksheets and guides and creating your perfect author space, that we also add into that package. So it's a little bit beyond the book, and it's a little bit different, than the book, but the book's a great support to go along with it if you're looking for that. And but what we want to do is help people to share your story. We want you to go and tell your story. We've done it. Mark has been one of the most successful people in the world, literally, in sharing his story, and now he wants to share what he learned while he did that with you. And so if you're out there and you're wanting to write a book, if you're out there and you wrote a book that wasn't successful and you don't know why, or if you just want to learn about writing a book, I tell you, when we wrote the book How to Be Up and Down Times, we were in the middle of making the You Have a Book in You author course. And I got a phone call from Mitzi Purdue, and she said, hey, I got this book idea. And I said, no, you can't do that book idea because it puts her at a legal liability. And I came up with this idea, basically, which was How to Be Up and Down Times. And we all agreed on it. And but I was so inspired from actually writing and filming the course that inspired me to write this book, and to work on this book with Mark and my friend Mitzi. And so the course opens your mind. It'll teach things you never thought of, and it's really fantastic. And it's not only good in writing books, but it's also good in business and other ideas that are beyond a book. Because like we said today, the book's just a foundation. The book's 10%, and it's what you do with it, what you do to take your story and share it with the world, to build a business behind it, to build a product behind it, to build a movement behind it, or whatever it is that you want to create out there in the world. So,
and the one thing that I'm going to bonus everything Preston, he's going to give you the e-address one more time, because we want you to get this, and it's a small investment for a great reward. But the most important thing is we teach you how to do interviews tomorrow to start making money with your book or audios or videos in the next month. And my example is when Jack and I finally sold Chicken Soup, it was going to be a year and a half before the publisher brought it out. That's the old days. That doesn't happen anymore. But in the old days, they're really slow. So luckily, I'd been working in chiropractic, and they just had all their money pulled out, all their insurance pulled out, the rug was pulled out underneath them. But I knew all the top docs that had made $1 million a year cash practice, no insurance payments. And so I interviewed all of them, like one guy in Denver who just did rubber bands and said, this is a subluxation, and what color will it turn? Well, red, blue, purple, then your finger falls off. And can a medical doctor get rid of it? No. Can a PT, a physical therapist, no. And how not? Nobody can except a chiropractor to get you back out of subluxation. And so I interviewed all those guys, and then I sold $1 million worth of those tapes like that, because you find a big problem and sell it to the market that's having a problem. And all you got to do is interview the people in the industry with the solution, and all of them will do it by telephone or video or whatever. I did it all by telephone. 1 week, I did the 21 interviews. I did one on chiropractic assistance and one on something else. I don't remember what it was. We had a 3-pack of 18 or 21 tapes, whatever it was, but we sold gazillions of them, and it saved the industry. Every industry now, there's a lot of people that are shaking and hanging on because of the problems in Ukraine and Russia and Poland and all that. And there's always going to be problems in the world, and all you got to do is decide you're going to be an infopreneur. Listen and watch the videos that Preston and I did for you, and it'll take you from nowhere to somewhere in a week, at the most to a month. There's some problem that you could go interview on tomorrow and make a fortune with it. And I am thankful for my friend Eldon, he is now writing, and you can just see the expression on his face that he works with press a lot, that he just is overcome with exuberance and joy and fulfillment.
Yeah, I love Eldon. He's my brother. Yeah, so we've got lots of great things.
Thank you.
From people, and lots of nice comments coming in. So thank you everyone today for coming and watching, and thank you for asking all your questions. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something. We uplifted you and edified you and made your life better in some way, and we can support all the things that you're trying to do. And just to invite everyone out there too. So I run the formulaeq.com Academy, which is the most powerful mindset training academy in the world. And I want to invite everyone out there to come and put the link in it below. So if you're into improving yourself and make a difference in your life, check out Formula EQ Academy. But check out everything that we talked to you today about, and go and share your story. Whatever it is that you do out there in the world, whatever it is that you care about, go and write it. Write a book, make a difference, put it out there, share it, and change lives with your message and your thoughts and your ideas. Because the ideas that are written today are the concepts that change the world tomorrow. And that's what we're trying to do, and inspire and change. So this is our movement and Mark's movement, and our gift to help you. So hopefully we taught you something valuable today. And if you want more help, check out the links in the chat, and we would be happy to help and serve and support you to go and share your message. Thank you, Mark, for coming today. Appreciate you.
See you next month, everybody.
Okay, take care.